I'm not interested in cryptocurrency.
And that was where we left you. Welcome back to Clearing Crypto. On our last episode before the break, episode 51, that was my mom's, and she was more appreciative than I knew because, man, I told you I'd be off for about 6 weeks, and man, I think it's been 3+ months.
Way to start a podcast, right? I mean, we were talking about getting something off the ground, even going before the first episode. It was like, hey, how can we learn? More specifically, Gabe, how could you learn a lot more as somebody who came into this knowing not really that much? And I think you realized after the first episode alone, it's like, whoa, I'm way in over my head right now.
Haha, that was Dan on the Coloring Crypto team talking about me from our podcast 1 year ago, predictions for 2018 in crypto. That ended up being our most listened to episode on Spotify. And as we come back and relaunch Coloring Crypto for 2019, we're going to revisit our predictions and see how we did. And then we'll resume our Sunday release schedule. And the next episode will have the crowd favorite, Cousin David. So let us know what you think. Tweet at Gabe Colors, GabeColors. Thanks again for sticking with us and coming back. The two questions that we're going to leave you with at the end of this are going to be, why do you think it's taken so long and, for real killer solutions to show up that people can relate to based on the blockchain? And then the second one is, where do you turn to find those solutions? Where can we look? What resources do you have? So welcome back. Let's go back 1 year ago.
Sound and color with me.
I don't know about you guys, but my Facebook feed at this point, 3 months in, is I'd say 80% of the ads are for some kind of crypto thing. The first ad, which I finally hid yesterday, was from the James Altucher promotion.
Oh, I'm so tired of that.
Dude, he's on Google, on the internet, on Facebook, he's like selling his, I think it's like $50 and for 1 year of his kind of like package. And then you've got like John McAfee, who every day promotes a single cryptocurrency. And around that, I've heard people say like he's just pumping and dumping. He's just buying this and then promoting it the next day, and it goes up 15-20% and he sells. One of the first things I'll say about that is, God, a year ago, what we thought about Facebook is we knew it was coming. It seems like, that's what it seems like we knew it was coming. But my attitude about Facebook is so different. But also specifically, those ads for crypto was also just a sign of how shady the industry was. A month after that podcast a year ago, in late January, Facebook banned all crypto ads. And but I'm back about 6 months later. But also just, our conversation about pump and dumps. Let's go back and get more into that. Let's specifically talk about pump and dumps. Dan, will you define pump and dump?
I would consider a pump and dump something that is bought by a group of people, not with the intention of holding, not with the intention of going long, but just purely to make a quick profit, whether that profit be 20%, 50%, or so on. And then with that group then leaving, someone's left holding this bag of tokens that ends up being worth a lot less than maybe it was initially.
Okay, I tried one of these for research purposes only. And so it was a Telegram channel, and he does a countdown and at a certain time announces the coin to buy. It's an altcoin. And I went in there. It's like, it started going up so fast that before I could get any, it had already gone up like 1,800%. So 18x in like a few minutes. And so I bought in at like this crazy number, and then I ended up holding the bag. I ended up trying to sell as it went down, but like I did not move my fingers quick enough to buy this on the exchange. And I realized that
well, I guess I didn't realize, I realized like, I don't know how to do this, but that for folks that are going to do pump and dumps, I'm just going to say, beware, man, because like, it's, you know, first of all, I don't even know if it's legal. I think it is legal. It's just sort of like stupid investing. But yeah, it's definitely not all it's cracked up to be.
Gabe, the bag holder.
Yeah.
Sounds like
You're welcome. You're welcome.
No, you can lose your head on that.
So, well, yeah. Needless to say, I have not done any more of those in the last year. In fact, I really haven't done any or much trading at all in crypto. I've just sort of watched this sort of lump sum go from what it was last year, you know, when Bitcoin was nearly almost at 20 grand last year in the time we recorded this, which leads us to the question that is, you know, on a lot of people's minds, is this slow drop down to what Bitcoin is today, around $35,000 to $4,000 this end of 2018, beginning of 2019. And so let's go right into last year's predictions. This is pretty hilarious because we clearly had stars in our eyes and bulls on our mind as we made predictions for what would happen with the prices of crypto.
Let's just put a stake in the ground right now with our first official predictions. Each of us are going to first state, what do you think is going to be the low and the high of Bitcoin in 2018? Let's start with, who wants to start?
I'll jump in. I think I am bullish on Bitcoin. I believe in Bitcoin Core. I'm not one of these people who believes in any of the forks that are currently available or currently being talked about. But I think a lot of people are buying in right now, expecting to earn some kind of big multiple. I don't think it's going to happen in 2018. You're going to see some good fluctuation. I think this time next year, and probably where the high is right around, you know, within 10% or so, probably going to be right around 20,000. I don't think we're going to break deep into the 20s. It might peak at 22. Then I think the floor, we might actually dip into the 9,000 range at some point. I think there are a number of things that can lead there, but my range is 9 to 22, and I think at this time next year we're looking at 20.
And just to hold all my colleagues accountable, including myself, that was Andrew. So that was Andrew. Next up is Dan.
If I had to give a range, I would probably say, I'd say 8 to 20. You know, everyone's jumping on the 50K Bitcoin. It's coming, but I think that you're going to see, and we'll get into it in what I consider my biggest prediction of 2018, but I just don't see it jumping off the rails in 2018.
Okay, so we've got you as a 7 as a low and 20K as a high.
8 is a low. I don't know about 7.
Okay, 8 is a low. Aaron?
I'm going to go with my boy John McAfee and say it'll peak at like 50K or 60K or something like that.
Pick one. Pick one.
Here we go.
Let's go 55K.
55K. Okay, for the high. How about for the low?
10K.
Okay, 10K. So just from some of our listeners out there, Andrew and Dan are definitely on the conservative side of things here. Oh, let me just throw out there. I'm gonna say 7K low and I'm gonna say 50K high. But I'm gonna say this: the end of 2018, it'll settle right back where it ends at 25K. So low 7, high of 50. I just think that, you know, you look at like Andrew, when you got back from Thanksgiving and you told your mom to buy Bitcoin and she did. And then everybody kind of just saw this holiday thing happen and it went way up. And then the next holiday happened, Christmas, and it kind of didn't do that at all. It kind of been dropping. It feels to me like the whole thing is like this condensed, like it's moving so quickly. I just predict basically a lot of volatility.
Okay, what I absolutely love about that is there's no conversation about anything fundamental or sound, but that's what was going on at the time last year. You know, it was like the whole skyrocket of Bitcoin and the whole cryptocurrency thing was really just word of mouth and a buzz, and that was our basis. So anyway, these I don't know if there's much use for these predictions or revisiting these. but they are kind of fun. Let's go back to more.
Here's a question. Okay, this is sort of an easy one, I think. In a two-part, I'll make it a little more interesting in a two-part question. It's a yes or no. Will Bitcoin still have the largest market cap of all cryptocurrencies by the end of next year?
Yes.
Who is that?
That was Andrew.
Okay, Andrew says yes. Aaron?
Yes.
Dan?
This is my biggest prediction for 2018.
Okay, let's hear it.
Bitcoin is not going to. Bitcoin is not
Buckle
going
up,
to be the
buckle up,
largest.
everybody.
Put on your tinfoil hats. Here we go. So Bitcoin is not going to be the largest cryptocurrency.
Oh!
It's not. It started 2017 with an 86% total market share. It started December with a 60% total market share. It currently sits at 44%.
Oh, I like it. You're backed by data. Okay, I love it.
I dig the chart. I dig the percentage. Dare I ask what you think, or a list of things you think could threaten its position? Or
Perfect. That's great. I see their biggest competitors as Ripple and Litecoin. With faster
Not
processing
Benjacoin.
times.
no Benjacoin.
I think with faster processing times, Ripple and Litecoin become the most attractive for those looking to make day-to-day transactions. And I personally dealt with this the other day. I went to send a small amount of money between exchanges, and I was looking at my fee, and I calculated it to US dollars because, again, I'm hardwired to that. And my fee for Bitcoin would have been about $7 or $8. My fee for Litecoin was 20 cents.
Wow.
And Litecoin's blocks, for example, are 4 times larger than Bitcoin. And my final point on that, actually, Andrew just brought it up, is, this kind of reminds me of the Pepsi Coke phenomenon, where people that taste the two sodas blind would choose Pepsi, but most would choose Coke due to the advertising. So you've got Charlie Lee being the face of Litecoin, Roger Ver can be the face of BCH, and Satoshi remains pseudonymous. So yeah, that's my big prediction now that you brought it up and you asked it in a question. So I don't think Bitcoin will be the largest. I think because once it goes on, and that kind of leads me to just one other thing real quick, that new cryptocurrencies on Coinbase experience unwanted and unfair gains.
Yeah.
If Ripple ends up on Coinbase, it'll go up 4 to 8x, and that's all. 8x would be all that it needed to overtake, all that it needs to overtake Bitcoin as the largest in market cap.
Do you think if a coin at any moment surpasses the Bitcoin market cap, even for a second, does that right there, is that a certain sort of like pop in the bubble of confidence where people just know, like, wow, even for a second, something else could do it, and could that cause Bitcoin to just tumble?
I don't think it's like saying something else, a stock comes out and it's worth more than gold, right? Gold is worth $1,300 an ounce, but how do you quantify it? I don't think it's necessarily the downfall of Bitcoin just because something dethrones it. I think it's something that's huge, because ever since the beginning, Bitcoin has been the one. And the fact that, during, March or April of this year, when Ethereum kind of skyrocketed to 300 or 400, it tested it. It never actually made it close, but it tested it. I think that something that dethrones Bitcoin, there will be a conversation, but I don't think that sends Bitcoin into a spiral.
All right, I know that was a long piece there, as we are back now in the future, back to the current 2019, January. But Dan gets major points for just being bold there and dropping some great data. Unfortunately, his prediction was very far off. He had talked about Bitcoin's market share being around 40, in the 40%-ish is about a year ago. According to CoinDesk and CoinMarketCap, it's back at around 55%. And so Bitcoin still is this dominant leader. As we kind of go back into some more of these predictions, some of the things that we're going to find are looking at CoinDesk, which a year ago was being so careful about what coins they brought onto their exchange. And while CoinDesk is still sort of the predominant kind of exchange, the Phoenix of exchanges, the one you go to if you want to be a new person getting into crypto, they've now kind of started to open up to a lot of different coins in the last few months. But let's go back again and kind of further this conversation.
One of the things I'm a little scared of with Bitcoin Cash is that Coinbase doesn't do a great job of describing the various cryptocurrencies that it offers. So if you are, I'm going to say, uninformed buyer, and I don't mean that in any kind of like disparaging way. I just mean like if you don't like know the difference between all these things, and if you sign up for Coinbase and you're going like, okay, I have $500, I'm going to buy some Bitcoin, and then you see, Bitcoin is, let's say it's 15, or Bitcoin Cash is 3. Oh, I'm going to buy some Bitcoin Cash, and it's not super clear that it's something totally different,
Yeah.
you know, and in the same way, Litecoin $300. Ether $500 to $700. If Ripple finds its way to Coinbase, $1 to $5. Who knows? You're kind of like, that seems risky. I mean, that's scary.
I mean, I think you cannot overstate that point. I have literally a half dozen friends who have asked me, should they buy Litecoin or something like that because Bitcoin is, $16,000, and I'm like, you can just buy a 0.01 of Bitcoin. They're like, what? The concept is it's not conventional wisdom,
Not that I'm going to keep doing this, but if we can glean a couple themes, since the beginning of Coloring Crypto, we've been looking at this question of, why Bitcoin, if it's not the fastest, if it's not the best, it's not the most versatile, why does it continue to dominate market share? Why is it still the highest price? Why is it still the highest market value? And it just continues to be, and I think it goes back to brand name and recognition and just trust. So just a quick note there.
Dan, I want to just push you a little further on this. I agree with you that I think one of these fast transaction coins will end up being a big winner somewhere. I don't know that it'll be number one or whatever, but it'll be like a big winner. What do you look for in determining who that winner is? What decides who wins?
What I look for are twofold. I look for block size and transaction fees, right? So, I mean, I had that experience the other day where I was trying to send the equivalent of couple $100 US, and I was looking at a $7 transaction fee for Bitcoin. So I just exchanged it on the exchange for Litecoin, and then did the same thing, and it cost 27 cents. And long term, that's going to make people angry. I mean, if the average transaction cost is $40 on the Bitcoin network, as opposed to like 62 cents on Ethereum or Litecoin, over a long period of time, for day-to-day transactions, which I think was the initial premise of having, a decentralized network like Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency, for day-to-day purchases, that it just simply doesn't make sense. I mean, that's more than your tax on buying that cup of coffee just to transact.
I've the last few weeks found myself debating, Ripple, and Ripple has some like fundamental kind of like systemic questions to it. But like Ripple, Litecoin, and I've kind of been trying to dissect this from all angles. And as an e-commerce entrepreneur myself, I keep on thinking like, okay, like if I'm Amazon, or if I'm a small web shop, like who am I picking and why? And then what kind of messaging, like what kind of marketing effort would it have to take for me to understand like it's okay for me to accept Litecoin or Ripple or any of these others? And I've really just been jamming on that. I don't have an answer, but it's I think that's the big question that people have to solve. It's not necessarily what do people have, because people will get it if they need it. If they can buy stuff on Amazon for 5% less because they own Litecoin or whatever, they'll get it. But it's more about the business side, I think.
All this chatter is basically poking at the core issue of what's it going to take for a core cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, like Ethereum, like Ripple, etc., to take over, but also the whole concept to really make sense in our society, in our economic exchange of value. And what's the delay? And so here we are today, the beginning of 2019, waiting for that to happen, just like we were a year ago. We're going to revisit now, or they're going to revisit then, some of the best episodes of 2018, 2017, wherever they were. So what's great about this, it's very meta, is the best episode on Spotify, meaning the most listened to episode of last year on Spotify, was this episode. The review, the summary, and the other top episodes, well, the main other top episodes included Jackson Palmer with Dogecoin. So you should go back and listen to some of those if you want some more juicy, great episodes. But we're going to revisit one of the main topics in the conventional kind of understanding of Bitcoin has been like, oh my God, it's using so much energy. And here's a sleeper episode that we revisit in last year.
One of the sort of sleeper episodes is with Ryan Flint, episode 10, where the title is Solutions to the Energy Conundrum of Mining. And he's with a group that has Kilowatt Hour Coin. And what I loved about this one is this was an episode that was released November 19th. And then the next week, for a couple weeks, I got sent by a lot of friends on Facebook this article that was going around discussing, this issue of how much power mining is taking, how much electricity it's taking to mine all the Bitcoin in the world. And it felt one of these moments where I was just like, hey, listen, we've already covered this in the podcast. So that was episode 10. Our leading episode for a long time was out of the gate, number 12, with Miko Matsumura, the old school Java evangelist, founder of Evercoin from Pantera Capital, just a well-known guy in the crypto space.
Love Miko.
Yeah, Miko's awesome. And just to quickly summarize, the next one was with Dan Gailey with Synapse.ai. That's one where it was way over my head. I think that I'll listen in like a year, and I think we'll understand more about what he's talking about, because he was really getting to like the ownership of data. And I think that'll be a big issue in 2018 is like, I think the frustration people have with, Facebook and Google owning all of this, our web behavior and our click behavior, and us not having access to that. I think it's going to be a much, much bigger issue in 2018. And people will kind of like...
I think it'll be much bigger in the future. I think that's like a decade-long issue right there. I mean, that's something that if you don't mind, I think that episode, listening to Dan talk about how data can be used and how to add it to the blockchain, allow you to physically see what these companies are getting from you.
I think maybe this is a whole kind of like indicative point of where we are with crypto, because we have now just recognized it as Facebook's become under so much scrutiny, and we are just acknowledging the problem. So where do we go from here? I think, and so now maybe there's an agreement amongst the consumer base that Facebook is not really cool, man. And so now can blockchain become an answer for that, where you can own your own data? You own it, the corporations don't.
It's not like a lot of cryptocurrencies where it's like they're creating a problem in search of a solution, but there is an actual problem, and it's a multi-billion-dollar problem that people clearly, cannot see what data is being collected. One, two, we live in a society that's supposed to be free and open along with the web, and yet there are, I would assume, terabytes upon terabytes of data about all of us in regards to what our searching habits are, et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, I think that episode is so far ahead of its time.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
It leads to, okay, this is one of my predictions for 2018. I'm thinking that level of frustration, coupled with people's education and understanding of really what does it mean that these companies own all the data on our behavior, linked into the volatile political climate that we're in right now. I'm going to say that there's going to be a new political party that it might exist right now, but a political party will rise up. It'll be a top 5, political party where they're going to raise 50% or more of their funding all in crypto. And it'll be tied to their message, tied to their theme of power to the people.
All right. Despite the fact that I was very far off in my prediction that the politics, that there would be a party that would actually have half of its money raised in crypto, I was completely, that was just crazy. But what Dan brought up, referencing Dan Gailey's episode with us from Synapse.ai, in terms of disrupting Facebook. I mean, that's become one of the core issues in the news, is the amount of data that Facebook has and Google has on us, and their misuse of it. And I think my favorite, the New York Times came out with a lot of great stuff on that, and then the Recode Decode Kara Swisher, Scott Galloway take with their podcast Pivot is, I think, epically deconstructing what's going to happen. So now it gets back to such an opportunity for the blockchain to tackle a problem. The problem is so bold in our face, and so that's going to be our challenge. Is what solutions can the blockchain come up with to solve that for us, to give the human beings, to give us more control of ourselves, more control of our data.
All right, so one of my favorite future guests, Jackson Palmer, creator of Dogecoin, he was really supportive when we did episode 11 and interviewed a lot of his friends at the meetup. He puts out a great video series. It's really educational. And he recently said that increase of apps to share money that are from established companies, like Venmo, where lots and lots of people are sharing money with their apps, with their phones, with Venmo. Apple Pay taking off. He sees that as a threat to crypto being the standard for sharing money. So he said that, and I gave it some thought. And I thought, because he basically says, these apps with crypto require that you kind of put in some money and then establish a connection with somebody else and have this predetermined sort of baseline for who you're sharing money with. And that was his argument, saying that it makes it harder for crypto exchanges of money to get on the scene. And I just thought, of Snapchat. So my prediction is basically the Snapchat of crypto money exchange will happen in 2018.
There is still plenty of time for this. It's a great idea.
It won't be me and my generation. It'll be 18 to 22-year-olds who suddenly, out of the blue, find a really established kind of a clique of money exchange, and it's all crypto, and it kind of surprises all of us with some weird Snapchat user interface, but that there will be some establishment of a new product that is the Snapchat of money exchange for crypto.
All right, so that didn't happen as far as I know. If there's any non-my generation young kids who have something that has happened, please let me know. But the question I have from 2019 back to you, Gabe, 2018 is, what's the advantage? What's the reason?
I dig it. I think a lot of that speaks to the access question in a slightly different way, but it speaks to that access question. Coinbase, even if you just want to buy $500 worth of something like Bitcoin, still requires a lot of verification. It's anywhere from a 10 to 20 step process. I think that if you had something that made it super, super easy, and of course, there's a lot of legal questions, but if you made it something that was just super, super easy, you're going to see that kind of demographic cling to it, and you'll probably see it pop. I could totally see it.
And we're still looking for that killer app, or even just a place to assess successes of the blockchain. I think that's one of the reasons that everything has been really flattened and the market is really bearish, is that we're looking for the proof in the pudding.
One of my favorite predictions came from one of my favorite podcasts, which is Make Me Smart with Kai Ryssdal and Molly Wood. And Molly Wood's prediction for 2018 in crypto is that a government will create its own digital currency.
Molly Wood, you were wrong. But so was I. So were we all. The predictions were really, really rough. If you look in general at the predictions from last year, nothing was on. Everybody, when we thought it would revolutionize money, there'd be more examples of apps using cryptocurrency, that even the government would be affected, and we were all basically way too enthusiastic. And so now looking back, this kind of serves as a re-inspiration, but I'm really curious what you think. And so here we are back with episode 52 of Coloring Crypto. It's been 3 months off or something like that. Who knows? But we're back. 2019. We'll be releasing every Sunday with a new episode. And man, why do you, Kate, the two questions. Why do you think it's taken so long, longer than we thought? What, were we overhyped last year, or what was happening with that? Number two, where do we look? What are the solutions that are actually making progress? So number one, why are we so wrong? Number two, where should we look?
All right, guys, this has been a good round table. And what I would like to hear as we kind of like close this out is, which of the Color and Crypto podcasts do you recommend your family and friends listen to if they want to learn about this? And then separately, what's your favorite episode so far?
Yeah, I mean, like, I can't tell you how many people I've sent to the Cousin David episode, to kind of like serve as a jumping off point. People who know nothing about Bitcoin but are curious, or cryptocurrency, whatever. I think that's the first Cousin David episode is really rock solid in that regard. And of course, love Miko. So that's the bar, Gabe.
I'm going to go ahead and say, and I think that the answers are exactly the same for mine. I would say that for both people that are new and my favorite episode are both Miko.
Yeah.
I think that I think he described the best use case for cryptocurrency as a whole.
So that's
the way
episode 12.
That, he's a public speaker, very eloquent, not to mention very easy to edit, which also helps. I happen to rank episodes based on how easy they are to edit, and he is by far and away number one.
All right, there it is. So episode 8, Cousin David. Episode 12, Miko. Episode 14, The Return of Cousin David.
And with last year guiding us for the next episode, Cousin David will return as our guest. Thanks for coming back and staying with us at Color and Crypto. We're excited to finally be back on the airwaves or the podcast waves. And if you want to participate, those are the two questions that we mentioned earlier that we'd love to have your thoughts on. One, what is, what's taken so long, or why is it taking so long to get that killer app, do the proof in the pudding, to see the blockchain solutions that can really impact our lives? And then second is, where do you look? What resources do you have to keep an eye on that? Tweet at us at Gabe Colors, GABECOLORS, and subscribe and leave us a review and all that good, juicy podcast stuff. Thanks again, and Happy New Year.
Subscribe now.